All right, for my sled, I'm making my body this about the same size, 18 by 24. The one thing I'm going to do here different than what you see done with traditional sleds is I made a slight groove in the bottom of this and kept my runner the full thickness. And the groove is exactly the same width as the runner, and the runner fits that miter slot perfectly. So now I know that this thing runs true. It will never get out of whack because it's, you know, slightly inset into this. And I'm just going to glue it into place. One little tip, I guess, when you're gluing up something like this, you want to start from the inside or the middle and work your way out, so that as you clamp this down, the glue, any excess glue is going to start flowing toward the ends, rather than clamping the ends first and working your way in and then creating up that hydraulic pressure, you know, because this is such a tight fit. I got some pretty good drips coming out the end when I did this, so it proves to me that there's plenty of glue in there. But what it also tells me is that the glue flowed in the opposite directions toward the ends. I've got my extrusion set up to cut a through hole here for my pivot point, 1/4 inch, approximately 1 inch from the end. And the reason I'm doing that is I'll show you later here, but centered on the groove, and then I've got it locked in place here. And I'm not gonna disturb this because I've got to make another hole out here somewhere for my locking knob. But let me cut this one first. Alright, took the clamps off. This is nice and solid. I took my plane here and just ran a few passes over this edge to make it a little thinner, because I know that when it sits in that runner, or in the miter slot I should say, this runner was just barely off the top of the table saw there, the groove. So I wanted to be just a little bit more, give it a little bit more relief than that. And then I took my block plane and put a slight chamfer on these edges. So I'm going to take it over and see how she fits. Also took the weight off of this one. That's good. It's a little snug right there, but I can live with that because over time, and even maybe with a little wax, that'll loosen up. But this is what I like. There is absolutely no play there. This one I don't really care about, but this one, fence out of the way here. Yeah, this one's good too. So I may take my block sander and just give this a couple of passes right in through here. I don't want to take too much, but I do want to move a little more freely than that. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Well, that did the trick. I didn't have to take hardly anything off at all, really. I just hit it just a few strokes. I still got a couple of high spots I can feel, but I'm not going to worry about those right now. Though that to me is moves just fine. And I've got my fence located here, and when I don't have to measure, I prefer not to. So I've got setup blocks here. This is 1 inch off of this edge. And actually it should be over a little bit more because that's going to get trimmed off. So I'm going to move it over about a 1/16 or so. And then the back is also 1 inch away from the edge. I've got 2 more blocks back here, and I've got this relatively squared up. So I'm going to drop my transfer punch through this 1/4 inch hole. Get my pivot mark here. So I've got that located. Then the other thing I need to figure out is how far from that point do I want my next hole to be. And on the Dubby itself, it's about 13 inches. I'm going to make mine 14. Yeah. I've got to have a nice even marks so that when I make this arc, I can transfer that to this. I think what I'll do is I'll probably mark this out first. Set my arc mark just like I did this one. Yeah. So I'm going to measure over 15 inches. Get a temporary mark here. That'll give me a 14-inch pivot. About 14 inches. Yeah. And then I've just got to make sure the arc matches this distance here.